legislature now reducing the negative factor and such. Pueblo city schools lose over $20 million a year just from the negative factor.
That's correct. You know, the negative factor has caused problems for the schools. There are a couple of bills that are going through to try and get funding for the schools. I believe it's 100 million, is that correct?
Well,
but
what we have right now, there's three items at work. You know, the state of Colorado has deposited to the Department of Education $260 million. That's what they've done. That's already done. There's two bills, 1292 and 1298. Between the two bills, and if you want, I'll explain exactly what the bills are. The 1292 is basically $250 additional million to education without strings, and 1298 is basically the same amount with strings. Between the two, I believe I can safely report to you that there'll be at least 140 million on top of the 260.
And do you support that?
I do. Well, wait a minute. Depend on. I need to ask what you're asking. I do support education having more money, but I do also. You know, one's with strings and one's without. One goes right to the negative factor with no strings attached. The other one does. I don't have too much of a problem going right to the negative factor, but I do support the taxpayers and what their wishes are. Now, 66 last year, it fell substantially. So what I'm saying is there's so much money available to education, we think it can make it work. But do I support an unlimited amount for education? No. Can I ask you a question?
Well, my question was whether you supported the bills that will mitigate the negative
You know, I
factor.
support one more than the other one.
Okay.
You know, what we're trying to do is get the negative factor. The ones with the strings, I'm not sure I support that. And that's why I indicated to you that between the two, I could safely say 140 million on top of the 260 will be in education. And education, you know, what we've said until the March report, you know, we thought between 80 and 250, and I think we can do a little bit better than that. The economy of the state is doing rather well, but it's spotty. You know, unemployment in northern Colorado is 6.1. Down here, I believe you're close to 8 or 9. And the farther south and east you go, the worse it gets. 9.
And to address that a little bit, just the negative factor is something that's been confounding for the districts for a couple of years. If I'm not mistaken, that happened before I went into the legislature, so kind of keep that in mind. But I was at a meeting that they had up there in Denver with people from the school districts throughout the state. Kathy DeNiro was there and some folks from the Pueblo districts, and they made the point, they made it loud and clear, and I absolutely agree with it, is that when they took the money with the negative factor, they just took it. But, you know, now that they want to replace it, they want to replace it with strings, and I can't see that. I think that money has to go towards the student and do the best it can for the students, and then let the districts, individual districts, decide where that money goes and where it can be best used. That's what it's about. You know, we don't have the state to go in there and be telling people, well, you're going to have to do it on this particular project or this kind of program or whatever, and we want to see what it's doing, what kind of results you're getting. We don't need that at the local level. We just need is trust in the people that are running the districts to do the right thing by the kids that are in their classes, in their classrooms, and I say give them the money that was taken away from them.
But you got to realize too, that you know, the kindergarten and the other situations, you know, the disability type children, they need to be taken care of. So that's why when we talk strings, we're talking about, you know, making sure people are taken care of. We have a long list to go on this.
Yeah, we do. Kids with...
But you know what, can I say something else too? This might be an opportunity. This may be an opportunity that, you know, right now behoove, and I'm not talking about mandating or it's just something to think about. Maybe it's time for the school district to start looking at streamlining. And what I'm saying, and I don't know geographically how that would work in general, but the modern technology we have, we can actually, start looking at maybe have one superintendent for 3 schools, or maybe, and this has been talked about within school boards, but there's ideas that need to come forward to streamline this even more. What we're going to have is a burgeoning population. Hopefully, a lot of that will come down here. So we need to start thinking of innovative ways to streamline as best we can. And we can do it without, let's say you have 3 schools and you can get it down to 1 superintendent. We don't have to fire anybody through attrition. Let somebody retire and not replace them. But I think it's time we start looking at different ways to do this. I know in rural Colorado this is working a lot better because geographically you might have 3 different towns. But it is something to look at, and it just, I don't know that we could ever get back to status quo as normal. I don't know what normal is anymore. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For me? I wondered, from both senators, what is your position on TABOR? Senator Rivera was talking about priorities and that if you spend more on roads, you have less for education and other kinds of things. And as I'm sure you're aware, Colorado is kind of hamstrung by the TABOR amendment. We have one of the lowest tax rates in the country. We are something like 49th in education funding in the country. What is your position? No, let me finish my question, please. What is your position on the repeal of TABOR?
Okay, my position is simple. The voters voted it in. It's up to the voters to vote it out. I do not agree with the lawsuit on TABOR that's taking place right now. I think what it does is undermines the voters. And I think if people are truly do not want TABOR, which I believe has you hear both sides, and I'm not saying whose side is right or wrong, but I do believe that to go through the court system after the people of the state of Colorado voted for it undermines a vote. So if somebody wants to run a petition to get that back on the ballot and convince the people that they no longer need TABOR, I would support that too.
You recognize it would take, 6 or 8 initiatives to actually do that?
Why? It only took one to vote it in.
Right, but since then it's changed, and we have single issue referendums now. TABOR is a complex piece of legislation, and it can't be repealed with one issue.
Well, to be totally honest, this is the very first time I've ever heard that. And I'm not making fun, but I would have to check anything.
Please do, because
my assumption would be that it would just take one.
Nope.
Because they come in on it. But
No, as soon as it was in,
it's interesting.
the law
I will
changed.
just have to check everything.
Please do.
Senator Rivera, same question.
Even if it takes more than one, I would have to say it's going to be a
What would your position be on that, Senator Rivera?
I like TABOR, to be honest with you. If we have the low taxes that you're talking about right now, you don't think that TABOR had something to do with that?
I know it did.
If TABOR was not there, you think that our taxes would be low? Look at the fees they're charging us right now, calling them fees, like fees on that road and bridge fee you pay on when you get your license plates. What do you think that is? That's a tax by another name, that's all that is. So politicians, when they have an opportunity to raise taxes, they're going to raise taxes, and that's what's kept taxes down is TABOR. So I'm sorry, I don't favor repealing TABOR.
But maybe our roads would be okay now
And our schools.
and our schools,
If we actually supported
we
that.
actually supported
And
them.
that's one way to look at it, ma'am.
Taxes are for the common good. Black Hills Energy is Pueblo's largest energy provider, and they have a heavy stranglehold on keeping our economy in check and preventing further economic development because of their outlandish rate structure. They're actually the only energy company that has posted a profit for 44 consecutive straight quarters. The only one in the country. If you're a shareholder, congratulations, you're wealthy now. But for the rest of us, we have the highest utility rates in the state of Colorado. What are your suggestions on how we get this stranglehold off of us?
Well, all the rates are set by the PUC. The PUC bases their rates on what information they're given by the companies. Okay?
Right. This is kind of where I'm coming from, is that as normal citizens, we are allowed no representation on the PUC. Zero. Unless we buy a high-priced lawyer, which I can't afford to pay lawyers that Black Hills can pay. We are normal citizens. We are in one of the poorest communities in our state. So how do we get represented on the PUC? Because right now, the PUC follows what the OCC says that the citizens want, but to get to the OCC, we need lawyers, which we can't all pay for. And the other thing is that we need a way into the system. They go out to dinner with the representatives from Black Hills. I can't get somebody from the PUC to return my phone call. I deal with energy issues all day, every day, and I do it for free. I can't get a return phone call from a member of the PUC, but I see them downtown with members of Black Hills Energy regularly. So what do? How do we as citizens get a voice in this process? Because we don't have one now.
Number one, when they have their hearings, the public is welcome to attend.
But you can't
Yeah.
speak.
Okay, when they have their hearings, the public is welcome to attend.
But you can't speak. You
Well,
can't.
all
Multiple
right,
times a month.
I don't know, but you're welcome to attend. You're welcome to have input to the PUC, and the bottom line is, the governor is the one that appoints the
You're right.
people with the PUC, so your recourse is to the governor's office. So,
Wow. That's proven effective.
anybody else? Any other question on me? And I understand, I'm frustrated with electric rates themselves, but, yes, ma'am.
I'm getting back to the railroad and our highways. Why can't they use some of that millions that we're getting from marijuana taxes?
Well, some of that is, it's earmarked and it has to go to, goes to education in schools, as well as, what is it, for drug education as well. You know, it's earmarked for that as well. And, as to the rest of it, that would end up going into the general fund, and of course, that would have to be used for whatever the legislature decides they want to use.
That's what we're trying to do. It goes into the general fund and becomes fungible. So if the money from the government, if we're successful, that could be a source of it. You know, and the general fund has been beefed up by the money. So if it's in there, we could, use that. If that answers your question.
Ma'am?
Along with transportation, they're using all our corn to make ethanol, and they can use other stuff.
I'm
Right
not
now,
sure.
10% of ethanol is in our
Right?
But you
We're
gotta
gonna run
realize.
out of corn.
Well, no, but what it does is by doing that, it does affect the markets.
But, and you're right, and in my opinion, that's the unintended consequences when government gets involved and passes laws and so on, because by changing the market, because they took corn and started using it for fuel, and now they're finding that fuel to actually make it is costs more energy than it actually produces for the vehicles and stuff.
That's not true.
And so what happens when
Not
you go
true.
to that? Your food went up, your corn went up, your corn flakes and so on and so forth, all that stuff, all that. So that's what happens when the government gets involved, and there's always unintended consequences. And that's why I'm concerned about even the legislature that I've been involved with passing and stuff. I know there's probably going to be some unintended consequences that I would have not foreseen, and who knows? Sir?
You know, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm, if anybody's aware of this, what's GMO, growth modified organisms, and genetic modified animals. And corn, right now, they brag that corn is insect-free. The bugs won't even eat the corn. They won't even eat it, but they'll feed us. I was privileged, I had somebody got a